The misroute was 4.7 light seconds. That is the number I keep returning to. 4.7. The difference between a distress signal reaching the Conclave rapid response relay at Ometh 7 and that same signal bleeding into human patrol corridor Kessevar 9. My error. My fingers on the redistribution console. My log entry that will, I am told, be studied at the Conclave Signal Academy for the next 600 years. I am Deathworlder. I was third-tier signals officer aboard Relay Station Ometh 9 for 11 years before the incident. I am filing this account at the request of the Conclave Joint Intelligence Directorate. I will be as precise as I am capable of being, given that certain portions of what I witnessed have not fully resolved themselves into language I trust. The Vrethian collective raided the border colony at Yethraspale on the 14th day of the Ometh cycle. This was not unusual. The collective had been raiding Conclave-adjacent systems along the Kessevar corridor for roughly 2 decades, each engagement calibrated to fall below the threshold that would trigger a formal military response. They were efficient about it. They understood margins. The colony at Yethraspale broadcast a standard distress signal at 3:12 station time. I was alone on the secondary console. The primary operator, Dresh, had stepped to the waste reclamation corridor 6 minutes prior. I received the signal, began redistribution, and entered the destination coordinates with my left secondary hand, while my primary hands were occupied with an unrelated cargo manifest query from the Ometh 9 quartermaster. 4.7 light seconds. I caught the error approximately 90 seconds after transmission. The signal had already propagated. I logged a correction request and began the recall procedure, which, under normal circumstances, takes between 4 and 7 minutes to fully execute across the relay network. It did not matter. The human patrol vessel CSV Unbroken Meridian acknowledged receipt of the distress signal at 3:14 station time, 51 seconds after my misroute completed. I remember staring at the acknowledgement header for a long moment. Human signals have a particular formatting structure, clean, dense, almost no redundancy in the encoding. They do not repeat themselves. They assume the first transmission was received. I had dealt with human freight signals before, the occasional border navigation query. I had never dealt with a human military acknowledgement. It said distress signal received. Origin confirmed Yethraspale, grid reference 77 Kessevar Cross 9. CSV Unbroken Meridian responding. Estimated intercept 11 minutes. 11 minutes. Yethraspale was 14 light minutes from the patrol corridor. They had done the math before I finished reading the header. I opened a channel to the Conclave duty commander, a senior officer named Velran Asath, and reported the misroute. Commander Asath was quiet for a moment. Then she asked me how many human vessels were in Kessevar 9 at that hour. I checked the corridor manifest. CSV Unbroken Meridian was listed as a patrol cruiser, Meridian-class standard complement. There were 2 additional vessels listed as running parallel patrol sweeps, CSV Gorodhin's Line and CSV Patient Iron. 3 vessels. The Vrethian raiding force at Yethraspale consisted of 34 warships. Commander Asath told me to open a priority channel to the Vrethian Collective Command Element and inform them of the misroute. She wanted them to know that Conclave assistance was not inbound. She wanted them to know the humans were responding to a misdirected signal and that the collective should, in her words, consider their next action carefully. I sent the notification. The Vrethian senior commander, a rank-decorated officer whose name translates approximately to Fang of the Collective Veth, acknowledged receipt and replied within 40 seconds. His reply was brief. He said the collective had 34 warships on station, and the humans were sending 3. He said the collective appreciated the warning and would handle the situation. He said the colony's population had been secured as leverage, and that the humans would be given the opportunity to withdraw. I logged his reply at 3:17. At 3:18, The CSV Unbroken Meridian transmitted a single short burst signal on open frequencies. Not encrypted, not compressed. They broadcast it openly so that anyone with a receiver in range could hear it. It was formatted as a tactical notification, not a negotiation. It said, CSV Unbroken Meridian to unregistered vessels in Yethraspale orbital space. You are holding a civilian population. Release them and stand down, or we will assist you in doing so. This offer expires in 4 minutes. No second offer stated, no follow-up threat, 4 minutes. Fang of the Collective Veth did not reply. I watched the Vrethian tactical net. We had been passively monitoring collective frequencies in that corridor for years, and I could see his signals officers debating whether the message was a bluff. 34-3. The numbers were not close. The collective had engaged human vessels before, twice in the Kesavar corridor, once further out near the Ashvin transit belt. In all 3 prior engagements, the humans had broken off. The collective had studied those engagements. They had files on human withdrawal thresholds. They believed they understood the calculus. At 3:22, 4 minutes and 18 seconds after the Unbroken Meridian's open transmission, the 3 human vessels entered weapons range of the Vrethian formation. What happened next took me approximately 6 minutes to reconstruct from the sensor telemetry, because it happened in less than 2 minutes in real time. I want to be precise about this. I am a signals officer. I understand sensor data. I have reviewed the telemetry from Ometh 9's long-range passive array 312 times since that morning, and I believe my reconstruction is accurate. The CSV Gorodhan's line and CSV Patient Iron did not engage the Vrethian formation directly. They moved to the colony's orbital approach vectors and held position. Later analysis indicated they were establishing a containment perimeter, not to prevent Vrethian escape, but to ensure no engagement debris intersected the colony's atmosphere. They were already accounting for what the Unbroken Meridian was about to do. The Unbroken Meridian went in alone. Meridian-class human patrol cruisers carry a crew of 212. They mass approximately 60% of a standard Vrethian warship. The collective vessels around Yethraspale were configured for raiding, fast, lightly armored relative to fleet-class ships, optimized for orbital intimidation rather than sustained combat. This distinction mattered more than I initially understood. The Unbroken Meridian did not follow any engagement doctrine in the Conclave's tactical library. I checked. I have colleagues at the Intelligence Directorate who checked also. What the ship did was not chaotic. The telemetry shows a precise, cold sequence. It simply did not match anything we expected. The human commander, whose name I later learned was an officer with a rank that translates to something like senior captain, did not communicate further with the Vrethian formation after the 4-minute offer expired. She did not issue demands. She did not request the colony's release again. She had said what she had to say. The 4 minutes were gone. In the sensor record, the Unbroken Meridian moved through the Vrethian formation like a body that had decided where it was going and was no longer treating the intervening space as a problem. 14 Vrethian vessels attempted intercept burns. 7 of them made weapons contact. The Unbroken Meridian's hull integrity remained above operational threshold throughout. Subsequent analysis of their hull composition revealed 3 upgrade packages not listed in any Conclave vessel registry for human ships. The Intelligence Directorate believes those packages had been standard issue for at least 4 years. We simply had not known. 11 Vrethian vessels were destroyed. 9 were disabled. 14 withdrew on emergency thrust. The engagement lasted 1 minute and 43 seconds from first weapons discharge to cessation of active contact. Fang of the Collective Veth's vessel was among those destroyed, which the Intelligence Directorate later noted may have contributed to the speed of the withdrawal, as collective command authority is heavily centralized, and the remaining senior officer appears to have made the withdrawal decision unilaterally within seconds of Veth's ship going offline. The colony population was unharmed. The collective vessels had not had time to act on the leverage. At 3:24 station time, the CSV Unbroken Meridian transmitted a single brief signal on standard Conclave emergency band. It was addressed to Ometh 9. It said, "Colony secured. Distress situation resolved. Relay your next scheduled traffic. We'll be on station another hour in case any of those withdrawing vessels reconsider." I sat with that message for some time before I filed my acknowledgement. An hour in case they reconsidered. I think about that line often, not because it was threatening. The syntax was entirely flat, entirely procedural, the way you might note that you are staying late to finish a report. That is what stays with me. There was no performance in it. The humans had done a calculation at some point before the engagement, possibly before they even acknowledged my misrouted distress signal, and the calculation had simply resolved. The offer, the 4 minutes, the engagement itself, these were administrative steps in a process that had already reached its conclusion before they arrived. Commander Asath filed a formal apology with the Conclave Diplomatic Council for the misroute. The council forwarded a copy to the Terran embassy. The Terran embassy replied that no apology was necessary, as the situation had been resolved, and that the CSV Unbroken Meridian's crew had been rotated to standard shore leave. Shore leave. 1 minute and 43 seconds of contact with 34 Vrethian warships, and the after-action treatment was shore leave. I received a commendation from the Intelligence Directorate, which I found disorienting until a senior analyst explained that my misrouted signal had generated the most tactically informative data set on human military capability that the Conclave had obtained in 11 years. They were grateful for the accident. They were less forthcoming about what the dataset had taught them, specifically, but the analyst told me, in the tone of a person who has just finished reorganizing their assumptions about the universe, that the Conclave's threat assessment models for the Kesavar corridor would be substantially revised. The Vrethian Collective has not conducted a raid in any Conclave-adjacent system since that morning. I have been a signals officer for 11 years. I understand relay protocols and carrier frequencies and the precise electrical process by which information travels across the dark between stars. I am not a military analyst. I am not a strategist. I am the person who entered the wrong coordinates into a redistribution console while distracted by a cargo manifest. But I know what I watched on the sensor feed at 3:22 station time. I know how long it lasted. I know that the Unbroken Meridian held position for exactly 61 minutes after the engagement before resuming its patrol sweep, and that during those 61 minutes it did not transmit anything further, did not attempt contact with the withdrawing collective vessels, did not file any of the standard post-engagement notifications that Conclave vessels would have filed. When they finally moved off station, they sent one last burst, routine navigation update, standard patrol telemetry. It did not mention Yethraspale at all.